Hi.
Hello.
I am so happy that you agreed to give me a little bit of your time and come and speak with me today. Oh
Uh,
my gosh. You
I'm
know,
so
I've been
honored you asked.
I've been I've been following you for some time on social media and watching your growth and listening to people who talk behind your back and say, I had this session with Claudette and oh my gosh, I was healed from this. I grew from that. And that inspired me to ask you to speak to the survivors that I meet with weekly. And the survivors just absolutely loved you. Whenever you bring new thought to fundamental Christians, it's like, okay, is it going to clash? What's going to happen? And you have this beautiful grace about you where you're taking Christianity and spirituality in a way that doesn't offend anyone, that is just truth and beauty and your own personal story of sort of what happened to you and how you got here was
Yes.
just great. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't share the story because of confidentiality with the ladies. Would you please come back? And you said yes. So thank you, Claudette, for being here.
Thank you. Thank you. Like I said, it's an honor. Anytime that we can reach out and help our sisters,
Yeah,
it's really worth it, isn't it? Because
it really is. And so um, we have an hour and your story is just incredible. So wherever you want to start, we had talked earlier that this is Women's National History Month, and I was like, I want to hear her story, and these are the ladies that I want to share her story. So whatever part you want to share about your story, the microphone is yours.
oh, I start because we're defined many times we are defined by our parents, right? And my father didn't want me. And I think there's a lot of people that have gone through that. My mother wanted me, she really did. But my father didn't want any of us. And, so it started out with he attempted to drain the brake fluid on the car before he went to Vietnam. And in hopes that we would have an accident and he wouldn't have to get a divorce, because it would be an easier way to just get rid of the family and start over. I mean, that's basically what it was. And I was very young. I have memories from like 2 years old on, of moments. I don't remember everything, but I remember moments. And I remembered when he was working on the car and he yelled at me to get out of it. There was like this carport type area, and I just wanted to be around my dad. He had been gone, he had come back, and I just wanted to be around him. And I sensed he didn't want to be around me. I remember feeling that initial rejection, right? And I ran in the house crying. And then he had left the next day, and a day or two later we're driving across the 6-lane highway and our brakes aren't working and my mom's screaming. And as a 2.5-year old, somewhere around there, like it's between 2 and 3. Um, I don't know. I knew something was off, right? I just knew. And my mom is screaming, I just remember her screaming, not what she said. She tells me that she was saying, I can't stop. I can't stop. And my brother was just looking around like my brother would always look to mom and go, are you okay? He was 3 years older. And I remember we made it through that. We went across the road, and it wasn't our time, right? And throughout what I'm going to share with you, I think you're going to discover that there's a higher protection. And if it's not your time, it's not your time. And then we're going to go even further and say, no, no man comes to me unless I call them. And when we step into that power and that birthright, no one is allowed anymore to harm you, period. And so that's what happened with me. So I'm going to share with you my journey into that knowing, right? and stepping into that power. And so the divorce happened, and I remember thinking I needed to take care of my mom. At this point, I think I was three and a half, you know, and
A lot of responsibility for a little girl.
I just was patting her, and she was having a near nervous breakdown and didn't really know what to do. And my grandparents were saviors, so they kind of took us in. They moved us from Texas to North Carolina, and we had some good moments. And then my mom moved us into projects, because she wanted to get out from under her parents, and she really didn't really have any idea of what happened in projects. And it was a new community, and she thought, it's clean, it's new, we're moving in, it's great. I learned everything about drugs. I learned everything about uh, grouping together so we could protect ourselves. There was a group of us of 10 or 11 girls, depending on who was grounded. And, uh, you know, depending on who had gotten in trouble, but we stuck together because together no one touched us. Right. And, I had gotten in a fight with a few of those girls in the beginning. And it was like you had to prove you were strong. You had to prove. I learned how to fight the second day in the projects. I got beat up the first day. From that point, my mom started dating someone. And I remember meeting him for the first time, and he picks me up, and I whispered in his ear to put me down. I knew I didn't like him. I didn't like him at all. I felt like he was a liar. I just didn't. And I told mom, I don't like him. I looked at him, and, now you have a girl from the projects, and I'm going to speak I'm going to tell you what I'm thinking. Right. And I just
Yeah.
looked at him and said, I don't like you. And little did I know the abuse that was starting to come. He had been abusing my mom. She secretly married him. I think she was too embarrassed to, and she knew we would say no, right? So she didn't come to us for our blessing. She didn't tell her parents. She just got married. And I learned that he busted her nose up on their honeymoon. She had gone away. We were staying at grandma and grandpa's, and then I never knew this until we started really seeing a different side to him. And that's when, the abuse started happening quite a bit. And I would come home, and my mom was being raped and beaten. And he attempted to rape and beat me. I attribute the fact that he didn't succeed to my training from projects. Like, I had become pretty smart about getting away, about staying out of trouble, about uh, into my intuition and my street smarts, right? Like, I started to get really good at that. Actually, I didn't want to move out of projects. Everything was working. you know you get comfortable, and then when we had to move away, I was like, what? I'm going to miss my friends.
Yeah.
um and I look back at it now, and I think of all the things I encountered, and it was pretty dangerous.
How
But
many brothers and sisters did you have?
I have an older brother, and that at that time, and then I have a younger brother. That's a half brother that I also love, and he's 7 years younger. So my older brother is 3 years older. Younger brother is 7 years younger.
So you're born into a family with wanted and loved. Your mother wanted you, but your father was going away to Vietnam, and he just wanted to be free of the responsibility of a wife and two children.
Yes.
So he thought if he drained the brake fluid, then you guys would have an accident, be fatal. He would come back from Vietnam, you guys would be gone. He wouldn't have to worry about a divorce or child support or anything like that. And instead, you guys, it wasn't your time. It wasn't a fatal accident. You were able to get the car to safety. And that's when you learned that the brake fluid was all gone. And he came back. He was not happy that you guys were still alive. Your mom got a divorce. You move
Well,
in,
he asked for it, but yes, yes.
asked for the divorce, and then your mom takes the two kids and moves in with her parents. And that's not exactly how a grown young woman wanted to live. So she finds a new projects clean, newer. She thought, okay, I can afford this. It's not that bad.
Base,
She,
very low income base.
yep, yeah. So you move in there, and what state was that?
It was in North Carolina. Yeah.
North Carolina. So I would imagine that that there was a lot of diversity there. And as a little redheaded little petite thing, I'm sure you said you got beat up the first day. I have no doubt.
First day, I was getting things out of my mom's car, and this girl came and pulled my hair, threw me to the ground, stepped on my throat, and kicked my back. And when she left, I was crying, and I got up and I got the stuff that had dropped from the car because we were just moving in. Like we were just moving in. And I just came in crying, and mom was like, tell him about God. And I'm as a third grader, I'm like, what? Like seriously. And the second day, something kicked in. It's like that survivor instinct. I mean, I'm only in the third grade, but I just knew instinctively if I didn't change how I was showing up, I wouldn't survive. Like I just knew that. And I could share story after story. We witnessed a friend of ours being raped, and we had to get her away from the guy. Like we witnessed robberies, overdoses, guys. There was a guy stabbed on my porch. There's rumor he died, rumor he didn't. So I have a couple of podcasts. There's one where I say he didn't, he survived. And then there's one where I go, well, I don't know. I don't know what happened to him. We just went through all types of things, and my mom was just working and trying to survive, and half of it she didn't even know happened.
Right.
You just make it through the day, and
Absolutely.
and I had gotten to a point that I was very comfortable in that environment, like because I had my friends.
Yeah.
I felt safe.
So then you meet this guy, and your little intuition, knows,
Yeah.
that he's trouble, and sure enough, he is. How old were you when your mom and stepdad moved out of the projects, took you all away from there?
I was in the third, fourth, and fifth grade in the projects. And the summer between fifth and sixth, we moved. And we moved to Tennessee. And to top it off, he was a pastor of a church, and he was addicted to drugs. And
Your stepdad.
yes, yes. And so we were dealing with a drug addict who would take different drugs and just totally go into a very angry frenzy and not even remember what he did.
Yeah.
And you never knew. I think a lot of people can relate to this. When people are like that, you don't know what you're going to say or do that's going to trigger them.
Right.
It's you just don't know. You could look at them or not look at them. Either way, they might get triggered. And I just, coming from projects, I had a mouth because I was like, you're not going to tell me what to do,
Yeah.
But he began to, punish us in certain ways, and, hit me and things like that. And my mom, she was trying to, she would try to stop things. She would try to calm everything down, and then she would pay for it later. And we would hear that. One thing he would have us do is go out in the storm when it's lightning and raining, and we would pick up sticks on a 3-acre lot. And he would make us do stuff like that, just silly stuff. The peeking on me, things like that. He would try to do that. But see, I'm telling you, projects really helped me because I handled it, and
Yeah.
because I had learned to be a little street smart, so I figured it out. I knew when something was about to happen and figured it out. And finally, the ending of that resulted in, I literally had a dream that he was going to kill us. He was becoming more violent.
Mhm.
And I had this dream like 3 nights in a row. And after I had it for 3 nights in a row, I told my mom, I said, I really think we need to go. I was now 12, right? And I felt like I was an adult at 12.
Yeah.
Like I was like, I'm grown up now. We're going to take care of this.
Yeah.
And, after I told my mom, she said, well, I'll let the cops know in case we die.
Right.
They'll know who did it. And that was not a solution for me. Like I'm not dying. So, so what ended up happening is I picked a fight with him, and he was already kind of messing with my mom again. This happened often, and I picked a fight with him. She tried to intervene, but he came in and he just smacked me. And at that point, I let in on him, and my brother had agreed to help me. And that was, basically we had to beat him up to get him out of the house, just to, because at that point I felt like we're actually going to die. He
Yeah.
was becoming more violent, and it was sporadic and it was scary. And but I can tell you this, I began to learn the power of God within me during this time, because I would just go, I would be very afraid, and then I would hear,
Mhm.
trust me, Claudette. And I just began to go, I do trust you. And I might have to say there were a couple incidences. You've heard how people get that superhuman power, where it comes through you, and you just have all of this strength. You've heard where a mom can lift a car, in that incident,
Right. Yeah.
all this. And I thought about Samson, how Samson was so strong. And I was like, I wonder if I need that, if that will be for me, And there was one day before the final fight where he was viciously beating my mom. And I opened the bedroom door and I said, you need to stop. You need to leave her alone. And he said, you're next. And he shuts the door, and I kicked the door open, and he went flying back across the room. And I looked at him and I said, you have no idea who is in me.
Mm.
It is the Creator. And this is not allowed. And I said, you need to leave. And I said it with such certainty. He got up, he was shaking, and he left.
Mm.
And so I began to get glimpses,
Mhm.
because I was like, well, we're supposed to be like children of the Creator, right? Like, what I'm saying? Even as a 12-year-old, I'm like, we're supposed to be like overcomers. Like, we're supposed to be strong, and but I don't always feel that way, right? Like, I would be riddled with fear, and then there would be moments where I would feel this strength pulsing through me. So fast forward, I'm an angry high schooler, because we left that situation after the fight.
So tell me about that fight. So that fight, you and your brother kicked the tar out of your stepdad.
Yeah.
And does he leave that night?
He left and he moved out for the most part, and tried to get us arrested for assault. Several neighbors came forward and testified on our behalf, or like, they didn't have to testify, but they were being asked questions. Like, people all around us were being interviewed and asked questions. And we found out that he had been peeping in on people, like all kinds of stuff that we had no idea. They would say that, he was screaming and arguing a lot, and they were aware that we were being abused, and so charges weren't filed,
Right.
and we were able to finish the school year and then move out. I remember, when we did, I was like, okay, it's over, right? And I was going into high school very confused,
Yeah.
angry. I, at that point, was blaming my mom. I was really angry. I was like, you didn't protect us. You should have protected us. We had to protect us. I didn't understand forgiveness at that time. And I just had quit caring. I really didn't care about school. I still had a heart to give, so I remember myself as angry in high school. Other people remember me as very kind, and I've had people message me and go, that thing you said to me in 10th grade just changed my life. I'm like, I don't even remember what I said. Like, I was so tormented on the inside, that it was just hard to, it was hard to be happy. I had like a very deep sadness at that point. And what ended up happening there is I got married at a very young age, and he was also violent. He also was into drugs. I didn't really realize this And so that was another journey I had to go through, and that lasted like 2.5 years, and it was extremely violent. And that ended up again in a beating. There's something in me that is just a switch, and I'm like, no more. And when that happened, I finally beat him up. He was attacking me, and I attacked back.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when that power went through me again. Like, it was just like this, it was almost a switch. If I were to describe it, it was accepting that this is happening and then switching to no more. And just that energy switch changed the dynamic of what was happening in that moment. And I was like, you no longer have a right to touch me, to abuse me, to do anything to me, because it was a mix of drugs and things, and no memory of what happened. And it was pretty bad. And I felt like, I'm not going to live through this. Like, there's going to be a night that I'm not going to make it through, and something's got to give. And every situation I've been through, I'm grateful for, because it has led me to where I am today.
Right.
And so what happened when I got out of that marriage, and I have nothing but good wishes for him. And my prayer for him is, may the truth he needs for his soul to be free rise in him, right? But I got out of that. It was very violent, guns in the mouth, the whole thing, just crazy violence, drugs, and a fire. Somebody firebombed our car in the front yard. Like, it was just crazy stuff. And when that happened, I was like, I am so in the wrong situation. Like, I just did not, you're like, well, how did this happen? I'll tell you how it happened. I ignored all of the guidance. I mean, warning signs were going off, but I didn't love myself enough.
Mm-hmm.
I had like a fear of being alone, and that overrode all the warning, all the internal warning, and I just silenced it. And I'm very grateful I got out of it alive.
So that little spot that you just said, that is what happens to so many men and women, that I see the signs. I know this isn't right. I know this is like a Jerry Springer show or a Lifetime channel movie.
Yeah.
CSI. But I'm going against everything inside of me that says don't do it, because I don't feel worthy to accept anything better. I don't see anything better. I feel like it's this or alone, and I'd rather have this than be alone.
Right, this or nothing, or no one else. Many times we're told, no one can love you like I do. No one else is going to love you like I do.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, well, good. I I don't want anyone else to love me like he did. But I wasn't strong enough. I remembered crying on the way to that first wedding and telling my future mother-in-law that I didn't think I wanted to get married. And she said, no, it's okay. It's okay. You're just cold feet.
Yeah.
I cried the night before the wedding. Like, it just, but I wasn't strong enough. I didn't know who I was.
Yeah.
I wasn't strong enough, and I didn't think I was worthy. I had this belief of, I'm not worthy of anything good.
Yeah.
I'm just like, and if you notice how it says anything good.
Yeah. I get that. And I'm seeing how you felt shunned, even as a 2 and 3-year-old. You instinctively sort of, you knew as a toddler, as a, this little child, that your daddy didn't want you, and you're not safe in the world starting that young. I mean, your saving grace is you knew your mom loved you, but oh my gosh, between your mother and, the indwelling Holy Spirit who is with you, those two sort of resilience factors there were great. But how old are you now with this guy when you beat him up and you're like, I'm done?
Between the ages of 19, 20, and 21.
Yeah.
So I would say I turned, I'm trying to think if I turned 22 and then our marriage ended. So
So what happens next?
it
You're
was the
20.
first 8 or 9 months into the marriage. And then after the fight, the big fight, he didn't touch me ever again. It only turned to verbal abuse at that point. And I thought, well, I can handle that. That's way better than physical abuse, right?
Well, that's what you think at the time, but boy, don't we know
At the
differently
time,
now.
it is not acceptable. However, I didn't think I deserved anything good, right? And no one else was going to love me. I had a belief that no one would ever love me, like from a man.
Right. Yeah.
On a man's point of view. I felt love from women, my mom, my grandmother, my grandfather loved me. He was amazing. But I just had this belief, and our beliefs are very strong. They actually create our future.
Absolutely.
So I had that belief, and I feel like if I'm to own my life and own my decisions and my mistakes, I probably helped create that situation. Because if our beliefs create our future, then, and everyone is compelled to fulfill our belief, it says, be it unto you according to what you believe. And when we really get that in our head, we're like, what do I believe that's creating all of this mess, right? But at the time, I didn't really understand that. Yeah. And I was just trying to survive. I just wanted love. Like, really, I just wanted to be loved.
Yes. Yes.
That's all I wanted.
So where are you now? You're 22.
22, single. And, I start dating for a couple years and a guy, and I ended up moving in with him and relocating, and I'm still in North Carolina, but our relationship ends because there was an act of violence done against me. And so by this time, I'm going, what's wrong with me? Has anybody else ever asked, what's wrong with me? Why is this happening? It was only one time, but it was enough I had grown enough that I was like, I won't put up with that ever again.
Isn't that cool? I mean, you went from, your father trying to kill you, the stepfather, I don't remember how many years of violence there was there. And then 3, and then with your husband,
2.5.
Right. Mm-hmm. And then now with this guy, one time. So you're seeing the progress, you're getting better. It's taking a while, like it does all of us.
Yeah.
But your tolerance, your self-esteem is growing, your self-worth is growing, and your tolerance for this sort of BS is dwindling.
Fall drastically. I was 24.
Yeah.
And so I just was like, my neck was almost broken. Like, it was pretty bad. And I didn't have insurance. So I'm going to school, paying my way through school. I was considered an at-risk adult. So I didn't even take the SATs or any of that to get in. They were just like, please just start taking classes. Yeah. And, I mean, so for anybody not thinking you are smart enough, that was also part of my belief system. I didn't believe that I was intelligent. I didn't believe I was smart. I had even to get into college, I had to go to tech school and redo high school level math. Mm-hmm. And I remember being in that class for 3 months, and the teacher was like, I don't know what to do to help you. And I would just sit at my desk and cry. And I'm going to tell you what changed it. It was like this little voice spoke up in me and said, instead of saying, I can't do this over and over, why don't you say, I can? And I was like, huh. And then I go, okay, I can do this. I can do this. I can do it. And I said it over and over. And 3 days later, I got it. Yeah. What I had missed in high school, because I was just an angry child and laid out of school far too much. I mean, all of these times it just clicked. Like this math just clicked with me. And I went to, after 3 months in that class, you're supposed to only be in there a month. I went up to him crying, saying, I'll take the test. I think I can test out. And it was me simply getting rid of the I can't and being led by what I believe is truth to say I can. And my brain opened up to it. And see, that was the first glimmer of hope I had in that maybe I can do anything. Like that was my, and no teacher had told me I'm smart. I had teachers tell me I was not smart and I would not become anything. I had that happen, but no one had said, Claudette, you're smart, you can do this. But that little still small voice rose up in me. And so at this point, I'm working, going to school, you know, trying to become something. The incident happens, it about breaks my neck. I couldn't even move my neck. I had to like, and I remember I was working and I went and shared what had happened with the guys at work, and they're like, we're moving you out. And I said, thank you, I don't want to stay. And so they helped me move out. I got a roommate. Everything kind of came together. And at that point, I was like, I don't know how to choose a guy. Like I was, my chooser's broken.
Yeah.
I have no idea. Like, I'm like, this is bad. So I just said a little prayer. I was like, why don't you choose the guy for me?
Yeah.
Right. And I ended up, you know, I'm divorced now, but let's fast forward. I ended up meeting someone and marrying at the age of 26. And I started working with troubled youth at that point because I was like, I was a troubled youth, right? Maybe I can help others. I didn't realize how messed up I still was, but I was just trying to help. I was just, you know, I just wanted to do something, give back, do something. And that began my journey of a 23-year marriage. And we're still friends. You know, he went through depression. We had some pretty dark days. At one point, he was suicidal. And all of that led to, and in my own internal torment is what I call it. All of those thoughts that tell you over and over how stupid you are, how you're not enough, how no one will ever like you, how you can't do anything, you're going to fail anyway, so what's the point in trying? Those were all my beliefs. I'm sure anyone can relate to those. I'll never be enough. I'll never be enough. You know, it's so funny how we do that. It's like, I'm not enough, but I'll never be enough, you know? And I was just like, I got to the point that I found out I had stage 4 cancer. And well, it was stage 1 and went to 4 in 4 months. And it was,
wow. Oh my gosh, that's fast. That's a fast growing.
well, it was cervical cancer, which is supposed to be slow. And it wasn't slow. Like I had had precancer before and thought that was taken care of, but when it activated and went to stage 1, it went fast. And I canceled 3 surgeries. And I was like, you know what? If there really is a creator, I'm going to be healed. Now, I don't say to do that without the knowing that you're going to be healed. There's a difference, but this knowing just dropped into me. And I was like, okay, I'll have surgery if I don't get healed within a certain time. I'm not stupid, right? Like,
Right. Yeah.
but I really want to test the power of God, like in me. And so I was still going to school. I'm riding my bike, and I'm like, I want to be healed, so let's do this. Like I didn't know what to do. I mean, I knew how to pray and stuff. I was like, I've never been healed of cancer or whatever. And I'm riding my bike. My brain was out of the way for a moment. See, our brain needs to get out of the way. That's our false creation, our false ego. It is the thing that beats us up. It is not truth. And so when you're kind of exercising or riding your bike, your brain kind of zones out. And then that still small voice rose up. And that was the first time I heard, what do you believe that allows cancer? And then I'm having a conversation with myself going, what do you mean? What do I believe that it allows the can? What the heck? Like, this is happening to me. I didn't create this. And I heard, do you want to be free of it or not?
Mm.
And I was like, okay, what do I do next? And this was over many days, right? Like I would ask and then the answer would come a week later because my brain was in the way. So the moments that my brain was out of the way, I would get the answer. And it was like, ask for what you believe that created it in your body. And I was like, okay. And then I got the truth sets you free. And that was the beginning of my journey into truth. And I was like, well, if the truth sets me free, maybe I can be free from cancer. Maybe I can be free from all this. Maybe I can get free, period. Like I was like,
Right.
I'm going to get on the truth bus, you know, and I'm just going to hop on into my freedom. Well, it was a journey. And so over a 4-month period of riding my bike across campus, going to class, doing all this, I began to get truth. And I realized I hated myself. I hated myself. I was very angry at my decisions, you know, for my first marriage, for all of my choices. I was very hard on myself. I beat myself up. I mean, it was incredible. And I was shown that it's necessary to forgive not only others, but yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a healing energy in and of itself. And it's so necessary. And so I began to get truth about that. And I would be riding my bike, crying to class, you know, and getting truth. And over a 4-month period, I got enough truth that I was told the cancer is going away.
Mm.
And I was like, wow. And then I followed guidance and went to a church that I didn't know anyone. The guidance, you know, when I say follow the guidance, it's that intuition, that gut knowing, that thought that drops in or floats up, right? We've all had it. It's just we don't always know how to access it when we need it. And so it would come to me and I would go, okay, I'm supposed to go to this church. And I went, and I believe that's when my healing was completed. You know, I literally felt a fire going through me, through my womb, through every part of my being. And I canceled a surgery that I was going to have 2 days later. And I got tested again because it's not smart to not get tested. You know, the doctors can heal you too. Go by the guidance. But I got tested again. And the call that I got from the doctor at that point was, we thought you were crazy. But we don't know what you're doing, but whatever it is, it's working. You don't have any cancer, you know?
Mm.
And so that was incredible. And I remember hanging up the phone and falling on the floor, just crying.
Yeah.
You know, I
I
was like,
believe in that. I believe in healing.
oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
So now you're 25.
So now I'm actually 20. Let's move on up. Probably 27, 28.
Oh,
27,
nice.
20,
Nice. Yep.
28. So I'm moving in, you know, forward in life. I'm starting to put up affirmations,
Yeah.
you know, and an affirmation is just a sentence that says, I am worthy. And because I didn't feel worthy of anything good still, you know, I was trying to will my way into being better.
Mm-hmm.
But in my soul, I still had that belief, you know, and so that's, as long as the belief is still in your soul, you can learn all you need to learn here, but the truth has to penetrate your soul for your freedom. But I was still trying to figure it out, to the point that I got in truth to be free from cancer. And it was another 5 years before I surrendered to getting truth for my life. Like, so, you know, people tell me now, because I help people find the truth within them. And they're like, it's taken so long. And it's like 6 months. I'm like, dude, it took me way longer, you know. You know, and I didn't know what I was doing. At least you have a method, right? You have this available, and you've gotten truth and you can see. But in 2000 was when I was finally so desperate, because I just had such a pain in my being and such an incredible sadness. and I was so uncomfortable, and the anxiety was just, I felt like my chest would constantly explode. And I was in the bathtub, and I was like, I just can't go on, you know. I had gone through a healing program for 3 months, and it didn't do anything, you know. And I was like, I've tried everything. You know how you'll tell yourself, I've tried everything, and it's just no hope. Maybe I can't be healed. Have you ever heard that? Maybe I'm just too far gone. And you know, and this is following up. I had been raped at 18 before, you know, I'd gotten married. There were several other, I always ended up in these violent situations, and
Yeah.
all of this was tormenting me. Like, and it was just proof in my mind that I wasn't good, or I wasn't worthy of anything. But then I knew that that was wrong, but I didn't know how to break through it.
Yeah.
And so I'm in the tub, and I feel like I just need to drown, like just go under the water. It's okay. And I was like, then I kick in and go, but it's not okay. I have a 2-year-old daughter now.
Mhm.
And I go, and if I go and her dad is suicidal and he goes, who's going to raise her? Like,
Right.
and I don't want to do that to her. Right. I was like, I could never do that to her. And so that's when I began to seek the truth and met a lady that showed me a deeper way to pray, you know, and it began to help me. And it was a very slow process, but it began to help me. And then she fired me, Catherine. she she told me I was too traumatized for her. So then the belief of, oh my God, maybe I'm too damaged,
Mhm.
right? And what I will tell you is I've found out now that that's the ego. We don't think it is, but the ego is to whatever.
Yeah.
I'm to this, I'm to that, it's impossible, there's no hope. That's all the ego. And the ego is our false self. The truth tells you nothing is too, like it's the truth. Nothing is too big for the truth to handle. The truth can heal anything, you know. So I was walking out of our office and I'm crying because I had a problem with rejection too. Like I just felt like I was totally messed up. You know, I'm like, oh my God, I'm being rejected, and I'm crying. She hugged me, but she's like, I'm just not qualified to help you. I think you're too traumatized. And I'm walking out, and that's when the first real time I consciously knew it wasn't just intuition rising, it was the truth. And I'd been practicing trying to go quiet and connect to the eternal truth, and it just rose up and said, I'm here, I'll show you how to do this, and we're going to help millions of people. And I was like, what? And I just stopped crying because that knowing just dropped into me.
Mm.
And then, but first, Claudette, we gotta fix you. Because I was, and so that began years, you know, a couple years of me really digging in. And there were moments when I wanted to give up. There were moments I was crying. I felt like I was dying, like, you know, just sad and crying and falling apart. And the one thing that I decided to do was trust the truth no matter what. I was like, I have no other option. Like, there's nothing else that I've tried that works.
So how are you getting this truth? Are you studying your Bible? Is the messages from, you're calling it truth, God, the Holy Spirit? How are you being educated in the realm of spirit?
So I think the most important thing at this time, I was a youth pastor, and I was, you know, helping kids still. I did have an incident, trying to think of what year it was. It was probably in the late 90s, where one of my youth actually raped his mom. Like, it was a very fight. I was working with troubled kids, right? And when that happened, I had felt that would like that was around him, like intuitively. And but when that happened, that was a wake-up call for me. I said, there's something. I didn't blame myself for his action, but I was like, there's something I need to learn. There's more here, because we prayed over him, but it didn't work. And why didn't it work? Because it's supposed to work, right? And
Right.
so and so I was like,
really going deep into the study of who God is. And I think that's one of the most important things. We need to know the nature of the creator, because you don't go into a relationship with anyone and not ever know them. You get to know them. And when you know the creator is always there for you to heal you, to guide you, to remove trauma, to remove the pain, to give you the truth for your soul to be free. And, so I had begun to study that and who it says the creator is.
So I want to stop you there for a second. Now I am open to a tree being called 5 different things.
Yes.
Because I know that the 5 different languages for the word tree still means the tree. But there are people that say, no, you have to call the tree the same language that I call a tree, or I will rebuke anything that you have to say. You could be less, I don't know what the word is, of a troublemaker. I don't know what the word is. There's antagonistic, I think, maybe, to more conservative Christians. If you used words like Holy Spirit and God and Jesus, and and after you say a statement, give the scripture, where you found that or whatever, and you don't. You say truth and other words. And I know that must be for a specific reason. And I'm wondering, what are your thoughts about that?
Well, the way, the truth, and the life is the Christ. And the truth is the power that sets you free. That's supported in the Bible. However, the word God, there's many people on earth that don't like that word, because they don't want Christianity pushed upon them.
Right.
However, if you ask for the eternal truth and you say, the creator of my spirit, who do you think we're talking about? There's really only one power. There's really only one God. There's created things underneath that power. But I think everyone can agree there is only one.
Yeah.
And when ultimately, even if you are talking to someone that believes there's multiple gods or there's multiple things, I just go, well, do you believe there's creation, that which created our spirit? And they're like, yeah. And so to me, the most important thing is not getting hung up on God or creator or truth or the Christ rising in you. Let's not get hung up on that, because when we get hung up on things, we close ourselves off and we shut down. Our brain literally shuts down and we don't hear it. So I always, when I talk to somebody or begin to work with them or do whatever, whether they are Christian or not, what I have discovered over the years, I've worked with over 5,000 people at this point, is God rises in them when they seek the eternal truth.
Mm-hmm. I like that. I just wondered if you could, how you get to that point. I mean, I frustrate some of my Christian friends because they want me to, wave, a flag of Christianity. And what I wave instead is my life.
Yes.
How I live my life, what I do. I want it to be without question based on deeds, not words. And I think we lose a lot of people. The church has been awful to me. The church has been awful to me, has betrayed me and hurt me horribly in my life. I love God. I count on the Holy Spirit to guide me. I surrender to Jesus Christ every morning, but I don't tell anybody that. And I live my life in a way that I think would, I hope that would make God proud, because I surrender to God every morning. But I try not to use any sort of language. And so I get curious about you and the way you do your languaging, because you're wicked smart, as we would say in Maine. You're wicked smart, and your language, I'm sure, is for a specific reason. And and I think it's really cool the way you do it. That way you're not ostracizing Christians, you're not ostracizing people,
Anyone else?
anybody else.
I mean, to me, this is a talk about the divine plan for your soul. And it to me supersedes religion. However, those who take my courses understand, they go, that's from the Bible. There are many holy scriptures that you just can't deny. Like you can't deny. And when you read them, and I've even had people go, oh, if that's of the Bible, I don't want to hear it. I'm
Right.
like, stop. Anytime we're like that and we don't just read. So I tell everyone, when you read something, don't be afraid to read different things. Please do. And when you read it, go, whatever is of truth, let it go into my heart.
Yes.
Whatever is not of truth, let it just go out. I don't want it in my being.
Yeah.
And then you can learn, grow, and expand. And I think there's a fear sometimes. Evil is made to be so powerful. And I'm like, well, if there's only really one power, it's creation, it holds all things together. Is evil that powerful? Or are we giving it our power to make it more powerful?
Right. Love that. So now you're 28.
Yeah.
And now you
So in the tub, I'm now 32.
You're now 32. Okay. And so you are like, okay, I'm ready to
I'm done.
I'm ready to go to the other side.
I'm ready to cross over to not, I was going to do it by taking my life. I decided not to. I was like, I'm not really suicidal. There has to be another way. And that began the journey into truth. And it was a battle. I tell people, don't be fearful of evil. Be more, concerned about what you allow in your soul. Mm-hmm. Be more concerned about, because what happens is if the truth comes in to set you free, what happens is your brain starts to go quiet. People ask me if I meditate, and I go, well, I connect to truth, but I really don't now need to meditate to quiet my brain, because it is in the corner in its place. It speaks when I let it. My spirit rules over it. That is who we are supposed to be. But at the time, it was this back and forth, and it was hard to focus and concentrate. And I felt splintered, from every violent thing I'd gone through. There was a piece of me over here and a piece of me over here. I just felt like I was shattered.
Yeah.
And the truth put me back together. And it was a very deep journey. And like I said, at times I felt like I didn't even know who I was. Everything I thought I was gone. It was going away. And the truth just kept saying, trust me to get you through. And so every day I would go quiet and I would say, I ask for the awareness of the truth within me, because God dwells in you. God dwells in you. That is, God came to dwell among men. You're the temple of the Creator. That's who we are. And so when we ask for that awareness, bring in the awareness of the eternal truth for my soul's freedom. Okay, what do I believe today that's making me feel so awful? Because I would just feel terrible. And I'm like, and I would get, you're not enough, or this or that, or someone would say something and trigger me, and I would become very angry. And I realized extreme anger is covering extreme pain.
Right.
It's like the protection, right? And I would just get triggered. I was so angry, Catherine, they called me the Red Terror. I was a little angry. I was so sorry. So
you have a rein on that now, don't you?
It's, what, the Red Terror is in the corner too, because when you're in your power And your birthright, that power, that's your birthright. It's not a power in the world. It's a solid power in spirit. When you're in that, there's no need to get that angry. There's no need.
Yeah.
Like you're looking at everyone through the eyes of the truth and you're not triggered as much anymore, but it's a process. Like the eternal battle between good and evil, I'm convinced happens within us.
Mm-hmm.
Like it is within us, and it's that process. And are you going to choose to believe the false self and all the things that the false self will tell you about how terrible you are and you're not enough or worthy? Are you going to choose to believe what you have been called by your creator, a son of the living God, or a daughter? Are you going to choose to believe that? As a daughter, what is your birthright? My birthright is to walk in freedom, overcoming everything. My birthright is to be able to be healed from anything. My birthright is to remember my true identity. And my birthright is to do greater things, right? And so that's who I am. So how can I get there? So I call it the bridge of incidents. Like it takes you from here feeling terrible to here feeling incredible. But there's
So you're 32, you're in the tub, you're ready to give it all up. And then what happens?
I begin to connect to the truth. Remember, I told you that really kind lady taught me a deeper way to pray, but then she got rid of me. And then the truth, and I'm crying and I'm walking out of her office thinking, she doesn't even love me, right? Like I felt totally rejected. And then the truth spoke to me and said, I will guide you. And that's when every day for 10 to 20 minutes, I would get in there. I had a chair in my bedroom and I would get in my chair and go, okay, let's focus. And some days I focused really well and got truth. And some days my mind was just like a little chihuahua running around. I kind of joke about that now. It's like, I call it Chi-Chi the chihuahua, you know, just running around, peeing in the corner, just barking, just you're like, hush. So I began to practice and go, I have to concentrate and focus on truth and just surrender inward and seek the truth as if my life depended on it, because it actually did. And
so on the spiritual journey that you're on during this time, is there psychotherapy? Is your counseling been the counsel of God during this time? I know you saw that lady for a little time who taught you a deeper prayer. What sort of did you do psychotherapy for your trauma?
I did 3 sessions, and by the 3rd session, I didn't feel really different. This was just my personal experience. And I asked her, I said, am I going to start feeling better? Because I really don't, I feel like we're just talking. Yeah. And I go, I can talk to anyone. No.
For cheaper.
Yeah, you're expensive. And I was like, and she goes, no, it's going to take you years and years and years and years to get over that. And I was like, okay, I'm done with that. Mm-hmm. I tried meditation. I went to a drum ceremony. I was like, I had prayer. The 3-month healing thing I went to was all Christian based. It didn't work. I told her, I said, it didn't work. I'm so sorry, but thank you for your time. That's the lady that led me into the different way of praying. She's like, oh, you need this. And that opened the door to me understanding the truth was really in me. And at the time I didn't call it the truth. I called it Christ. I mean, so it's same, but I was like, okay, in me. Okay. I can hear you. And I think it's just getting past the mental block. And see, that's why I say this conversation is beyond a religious conversation, because it is an intimate journey with that which created you. Mm-hmm. In your spirit. And it's going, hey, your soul is a little messed up here. You've got beliefs that aren't true. So it's, the tree of good and evil. We've heard that story. Well, all those are on the evil side. They're not supporting you. They're draining your power. They're not expressing that you are a child of God. And so anything that tells you anything other than you're a child of God and is expanding you and causing you to step into your power is not true. And so I just began to go, okay, obviously that's not true. That thought is making me feel really crappy. So now I'm going to just freeze it. So when we start to understand, then I'm going to use my beautiful imagination in prayer, right? Like there's nothing wrong with our imagination. I'm going to imagine that emotion being frozen so I don't spin down for 3 weeks into the deep sadness, because that's what I used to do. I would go down into the pit of sadness and just wallow in my own pity party. Nobody cares about me. Nobody's ever going to love me. I felt that way. And so I learned the technique of just using my imagination and freezing it. And it usually looked like a pile of crap that I froze. And then I'm like, okay, what do I believe that is causing the sadness? What do I believe? And then as I practiced, it was easier for that answer, that eternal truth to rise within my being. It takes practice. And so many people, I have people go through programs and some of them quit. They're like, it's just not for me. It's too hard. I'm going, it is for you, because it's just asking simple questions to the truth to get the answer. It's starting that two-way conversation with your creator. Like that's what it is. And that's prayer. Prayer should never be a one-way thing. It should be a two-way conversation, And so going into your imagination is another thing that you can do to enhance it, because it brings it into the real part of you and it pulls up those beliefs out of your subconscious. And, sometimes we have beliefs and we don't even know we have them, right? They're in our subconscious and we're wondering why our life is falling apart. We're wondering why everything's crappy. I used to work so hard to build something and I would totally undermine it. Like it's succeeded enough. Now we're going to crash it. And I was like, what do I believe that's doing that? This is exhausting, right? And so it's a journey of going into those deep beliefs. But the only way there that I've found, if you know another way, is accessing the truth. Because in every religion, it says the truth sets us free. Like I don't know of any belief system that does not honor that. And I'm like, yeah, that's how powerful God is. That truth has penetrated everything.
Your journey has been really honing that skill of that two-way conversation with God, and freezing what no longer works and asking the question around, what is it in me that believes that I should have cancer or should have a violent boyfriend or should have financial insecurity or whatever your thing is.
Yes.
And having that conversation and tapping into that power of the indwelling spirit that lives within us for those answers, for that comfort. And you have found that through your life of tremendous trauma and violence, that is what has healed. Not only has it healed you, but now you have the method that you've honed over all these years. That is something that you now share with others in the form of workshops and one-on-one. If people are struggling and they want to learn how to do this, they don't have to fumble their way along like you did.
Right.
You can share these tools that you have honed, these skills that because it's a skill. It's just a practice that takes practice and implementation of these tools to have that same connection and conversation with God.
I don't know why my screen keeps
going off. I'm like, what's happening? It's very the really cool thing about this is the truth meets you. Like it's kind of like your job, and I say this, your job for lack of a better, or your choice is to go, I'm asking for the truth I need.
Yeah.
And then it's the truth's job to show up. And I always go, whatever is true will stand, whatever isn't will go through God's fire. And you
help people hold this space So they might, go through a lot of their human brain. We talked about ego earlier.
Yeah.
So a client might come to you and say, this is a last ditch effort. I've tried therapy. I've tried, all these different things. I'm still suffering. And I hear you say that the answers and freedom is within me. Um, I've tried to have these conversations myself. I feel like an idiot. I don't feel like I know what I'm doing. I must be doing something wrong. And you can help them. Well, let's do this together,
Yes.
and we can create this space together. And let me help you help yourself to have these conversations and hold that space within you for truth to meet you where you are.
Yes. Yes. That's what we do. We literally hold this space. Um, when everyone starts, they're like, it's kind of off and on. Sometimes I feel, really feel connected to truth, and sometimes I don't. And I go, don't stop.
Yeah.
Don't stop. And then, I have an 8-week basic foundational training course. And by week 4 or 5, if they've really actually been practicing, they're like, oh, it's getting easier. And the more you do it, the easier and faster it gets. There's like 3 stages of it that I've identified. The first one is you have to really sit down and focus, because it's not natural, because your brain is used to running the show. Chi likes to run the show
Right.
and rule over you as in tyranny. Okay. Like it's
Right.
terrible. And so Chi doesn't want to, the ego doesn't want to step aside. That lower brain wants to stay there. And I say lower brain because it has all of that, all the beliefs that just aren't true about yourself. And then, but you're consistent. You're like, no, I'm going to believe this. I'm going to believe the truth will set me free. That's your first belief that I ask you to ask to be written on your heart.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say to have it written on your heart, it's almost like being stored in your hard drive.
Mm-hmm.
You just won't depart from it when it's on your heart, So I go, write that on your heart, that the truth sets you free, and then trust that the truth is big enough, strong enough to show up, and regardless, right? But sometimes we're just afraid. We have fear and doubt about it, right? And so that's what I help people know what to do with, to get rid of that fear and doubt, because there's a fear that starts to come over a lot of people when they start to connect to truth. And I'm like, Chi-Chi's afraid. Chi knows that her days are numbered. She's like, wait, I've been ruling and I want to keep ruling. And I'm like,
Right.
You're not going to. So we get rid of that fear and doubt. And then as we start to feel it, the second stage is the truth just starts to come in. Like I've had people, I get all types of messages, and it's really cool. And like, I'm in the grocery store and the truth said to get this cucumber, not that cucumber. Is this normal? And I'm like, yes. So it's just part of practicing. And then the third stage is you've done it enough, and you've gotten enough truth that you feel like you and the truth are one. It's beautiful. And you can have your eyes open and you're getting guidance as someone is talking. You're driving, guidance. It's such an easier way to live your life. You don't have to worry about anything. You're just getting guidance. There's nothing you can't handle. Guidance is coming. It's that intuition 24/7, 365. The truth is always open. And so when I went from worry, anxiety, sad, feeling like the world was against me, nothing good would ever happen, to I'm getting guidance and there's nothing I can't do. There's a difference there, right? And it's to the point now that I feel so connected to truth, and this is available for anything. There's nothing special about Claudette. Like we make out spiritual people to be special or unreachable. This is for everybody. And so when I get guidance now, I have nothing to worry about. There's not like, you want me to do this? There's a desire in my heart. Well, I know all of my desires that are for good come from God. Okay, well, show me how. And then boom, it'll come to you. When you're just not paying attention, you'll have the whole plan. It's beautiful. There's nothing you can't do, and there's nothing you can't get out of. If it is undesirable, the truth doesn't want you there. The truth wants you to live a life and live it more abundantly. And that doesn't just mean money, but money helps, right? Like a lot of people are in survival. I was that for years. And so the truth, all you have to do, if you're even struggling with money, is just ask, okay, Spirit of Truth, show me how to get out of this situation and to overcome it. Give me the strength, the power, the energy I need to overcome it. And then when you get that guidance, follow it. Do what you are guided to do.
So we are coming at the end, and it's a drag because I'm like, this is so good. Okay, so in our last few minutes, how do you want to wrap this up? What do you feel led to leave us with?
I'm going to ask you to ask the truth to bring back your remembering of who you really are. Because you're not what somebody else did or said to you. You are not anything that the world can even define. You're so much greater. And if you truly are a child of the Creator, and I believe you are, you're an heir to everything that the Creator has. Okay? And so, what is your journey on this earth for? What is it going to look like? And sometimes when we're at our lowest point, and I know what low points look like, I became all too familiar with them, we think there's no hope. But if you turn to truth and say, I don't even believe this, help me with my unbelief. All you have to do is turn your consciousness to truth and start asking for that help. And you'll start to see it in small ways. It'll start to come to you. You'll get, and start noticing when you get that intuitive thing, like that hunch, start and say thank you. And now you might not always follow it. I had the truth for years and didn't. I had a bad thing happen to me and I finally got it. I was like, I should have followed the guidance. Don't be hard on yourself. I would say that too. There's no need to beat yourself up. You're growing and you're waking up. You're waking up to the fact that you're a child of God. And it's okay. You're going to make mistakes. And God's not mad at you. God's not mad at you. As a matter of fact, all of the guidance of truth is gentle. And it causes you to grow and expand. The truth only wants to see you free. And so go easy on yourself like you would a 1-year-old or a 2-year-old. I started seeing little Claudette and going, it's okay, honey, you're just learning, instead of beating myself up. So I would say, remember who you are. You're royalty. You're an heir to the Creator. All the power of the universe is in you. All the power of God has been given unto you. He doesn't withhold anything from his children. So how is that person supposed to be? And I'm not going to suppose all over you. Just I want you to wake up to that. That person is worthy. That person is enough. See, God doesn't create not worthy or not enough. We are worthy. We just lie to ourselves. And so ask for the truth you need to break the power of that deception. And then go easy on yourself as you're on this journey. I used to beat myself up for not getting truth fast enough or not growing fast enough. That's ridiculous. And that's when Spirit of Truth, told me it was Chi-Chi, the Chihuahua, but it's not a cute Chihuahua. I like cute Chihuahuas. This one's not cute. So just go easy on yourself. We all enter the kingdom of heaven as a child. That's how we do it. So be kind to yourself. Look in the mirror and say, I love you to yourself. Because you know what? It's all about loving ourselves, loving others, and connecting with the love of the truth within your heart. So that's the beginning of it. And you can do it. Don't give up. And if you need help, reach out.
We are going to put your contact information, your website and stuff so people can find out about your retreats and how they can have private sessions with you. Yes. Do you want to just say it too while we're here recording?
Yes. My personal website is claudetteanderson.com. And I am actually launching a Truth Method website. It's coming up in a couple weeks. I've been working really hard on that, and it's called truthmethod.com. But if you go to claudetteanderson.com, there'll be a link on that to take you over.
Awesome.
And that offers what I call spiritual treatments, which are in line with the law of God, that speak directly to your subconscious and create healing for you. So that's what I'm going to be offering very soon.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for your time today. I just love your spirit. I love who you are. I honor your journey. You know, everybody has one. Everybody has one.
That is true.
Right? And if I was in a foxhole or in the projects, I would want your badass right beside me.
I would be there.
And I would be there for you. These hands are registered deadly weapons.
Yeah, there we go.
Yes, thank you.
All right. Thank you.